Everybody, what you're going to see behind me here is one of the most unique Skoolies that I've ever been around or ever been able to see. And so we're going to take you inside. We're going to let you meet the family. We're going to let you meet the builders of this Skoolie. It's called the Ripple Bus, and I think you're going to like it.
Gotcha.
Well, everybody, I told you I was going to take you inside and show you this unique specimen. This is Chris. He's going to tell you about it, and that is Jenny right there. And they have 3 sons.
Come on aboard.
All right.
We're stepping into the cab, which will one day be finished out as an office.
Okay.
Very little has been done in here except just tearing it out and stripping it down to its bus parts.
Okay.
Some of the build from the inside kind of continued on, as you can see, insulation.
Insulation is a must. Yeah.
But generally speaking, this is just my space now. But eventually it will be an office. We'll fill in the floor and stuff. Yeah. And then take a step into the partition wall. Do watch your head.
Okay.
Some of them require some ducking.
This is nice.
Get up on it. And so you stepped into what we refer to as the dinette. We don't have a permanent table yet.
Okay.
So like much of our build and many Skoolies, we're not fully built out. We moved in before we were totally finished. We moved in before we had water set up.
Okay.
Mostly because we wanted to get out of the snow of Iowa and keep building.
I don't blame you.
We were ready to be done with it.
I don't blame you.
So you come into the dinette. This is the only living area inside of our bus conversion where we didn't raise the roof. So this is the original school bus roof height. It's actually dropped down 1 inch with the insulation material and frame strips and the finish.
And you have a sun.
Yeah,
Cool. Cool.
Just whacked you in the head. Yeah. We have a hatch. This will eventually. So the hatch does have a sky dome in it.
Okay.
So that we can see out. It's tinted. It's not insulated like it would need to be if we're going to overwinter somewhere. But eventually there'll be a fold down ladder here, and that's how we'll land up on our roof deck in order to service the solar panels in the back.
Okay.
So the dinette space here, this will eventually have a permanent fixed table that can drop up and down because this can also convert into a bed, full-size queen, and we'll have a heavy drape that comes across here so that we can have guests on board.
These are large inside.
Yes, they're quite large. Quite large. It's 7 foot 3 inches across on the inside after we insulate it.
Oh, okay.
And our full length front to back is now 41 feet 2 inches inside. Because we slid back our back roof extension.
Oh, okay.
So the dinette is also our sleeping area, also a workplace once we have a table in there permanently. Right now we just use a pop-up table. And then when you step into this section, you're in our first roof raise, and you can see that I'm 6 foot tall, and you can see that we've got quite a lot of ceiling space over here.
How did you design? Did somebody help you design this roof raise?
So I've been a builder all my life. I started building with my grandpa when I was 13, 14, and went on and ran my own businesses in timber framing and log cabin building. And I've got degrees in architecture and landscape architecture. Okay. And I'm a designer. That's how I make my money. So our 3 boys are unschooled. They've never set foot in a classroom. First time one of them set foot into a school was to vote in the primaries in Iowa for his first election cycle. So it was the first time he stepped foot in the high school. And in their unschooling, they tend to go off in the avenues that they're interested in. They follow their interests, and we're basically there just to throw more stuff in the canoe. If their interest is reading and writing and they're not paying attention to numbers, we start throwing numbers into the canoe and filling
Good parents.
So kind of the end of their arc with us is coming up. That's why we're named Ripple, because we figure that as we're out on this journey, some of our kids are going to be tossed overboard, and we're going to start to see the ripples of having had kids.
And they like Brussels sprouts.
And they like Brussels sprouts, yes.
I saw that on Jenny's blog. Yeah. She's proud of the fact that her kids like Brussels sprouts.
Yeah, that's fair. That takes some work. I wasn't on deck for that. I was the worker back then. Now I'm not the worker. Now I'm the stay-at-home parent.
And we cannot forget this one right here. Looky there.
Our dog, yeah.
Yeah, she was so friendly when I came in. She just come running right up to me and let me pet her. Yeah. And you got your stove. This is your kitchen?
So the kitchen is in the first roof raise. The kitchen and the bathroom. And this roof raise, all we did is we cut underneath the windows.
Okay.
We actually took all the windows out, stripped it down until it was just basically the studs. They're called hat channel.
Okay.
But they're a continuous steel beam that's been bent. That's why school buses are so safe.
What year is this?
This is a 1998 Thomas MVP.
Thomas. I see a lot of Thomases.
Yeah, Thomases are really solid builds. They're one of the nicest to work with. A lot more screws than rivets on stuff. So there's a lot going for the Thomas platform.
Well, that's good to know.
We could talk recommendations for school buses all day long.
Yeah.
In this section, to do the roof raise, we just cut. We used the West Lewis method, transcend existence, and we cut alternating heights, one foot off center every other one, and then lifted this up a foot, and then used solid inch bar stock and angle iron welded in to continue that hat channel shape.
Okay.
So this is just lifted straight up a foot.
Okay.
Our back roof raise, which is where all of the bedrooms are located in the utilities, that was lifted up 2 feet 2 inches, which is a little higher than most builders will go. And then it was also slid back one of these framing sections.
Okay.
So we picked it up and moved it back.
Okay.
And that was in order to get my wife Jenny's and I bedroom in. We had originally done our design for around a front engine bus. So when we got this bus, we didn't have a bedroom space. Okay. So that was the solution.
So Jenny, do you cook big meals or do you try to keep them small?
We all cook, and we cook huge meals.
Kind of take care of yourself. Okay.
No. We cook for each other. So
we eat almost all meals together.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Absolutely.
Okay. And you all chip in and do the cooking.
We do.
Okay.
Yeah. It's mostly like who feels like cooking.
Okay.
Who wants to cook? We have to cajole the oldest into doing it, but then when he does, he'll make the most amazing stews and stuff. And our middle one is the least interested in cooking, but when he cooks well.
Okay.
We still talk about a pizza that he made a couple years ago, and then the youngest, our youngest is a savant in the kitchen.
We have to fight him.
Yeah, I usually have to. Yeah, I love to cook. Jenny loves to cook. We usually have to fight Cedar to cook.
How long have you guys been boondocking?
Skoolie Palooza was our first.
That was the first boondocking.
Okay.
Or maybe the day before when we were courtside. So.
And you guys have a video. They have a video. It's at Ripple is your channel, correct?
On YouTube, our channel will be The Ripple Bus.
The Ripple Bus?
The Ripple Bus.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have a video.
Design is how you find me on social media.
Okay. You have kind of an introductory video. I watched it last night. It's kind of cool.
And that was made by our youngest son.
Oh, okay.
So he's fully in charge of that process.
Cool.
He's working on a tour like you're doing today of the bus, and then we're going to start telling the story of the build.
Okay.
He documented the entire process, from making the lamps. So everything on board is made. They designed the lamps. They designed this bus. The only time I really got involved and heavy-handed on design myself was solving the technical details of our curved counter and the bathtub that it's wrapping around. Mm-hmm. And then when we had to quickly figure out a shift when we bought the bus in Colorado and did our roof raise in Colorado, how to figure out how to put it in our bedroom.
This looks like it has like a clear over top of it.
Yeah, that's a
looks
clear
deep.
epoxy.
It looks deep, yeah.
Yeah, and it only has 2 coats on it now, so you'll see deformities, and it still has some pock marks in it, so it gets at least 2 more coats.
Okay.
It actually gets some edging. So there's a lot of stuff not done. Obviously, this isn't a storage space. This will have drawers eventually. So cabinets just have the carcasses in, and all the drawer work still has to be done.
Okay.
How
big holding tanks? Can you tell me about the holding tanks?
Yeah, the holding tanks we do gray water composting toilets, so solids and liquids are separated. And then we have fresh water. Both of our fresh and gray water tanks are actually, it's out of the epoxy. They're fiberglass boxes that our back bedrooms and our bathrooms sit on top of.
Okay.
So we built plywood boxes 6 inches deep and baffled inside so that you'd never have more than about 5 gallons of water in any given compartment during a thrust, a shift in the mass. And then those are totally sealed inside and on the lids and such with fiberglass, with 4 ounces of fiberglass. So our water tanks, we got 200 gallons of fresh water, just under 100 gallons of gray water, and we can see our fresh water here gauge and our gray water tank gauge. So everything is electrocuted, as I think of it as, because I'm not the electrician. My oldest son studied computers and then moved on into.
You guys are blessed, really blessed to have all that knowledge.
We're pretty fortunate to have these guys. So Cactus designed the entire electrical system and has reworked the bus vehicular wiring system. I can do wiring. I was a contractor for years. I hate electricity. I mean, it's just boring to me. He's fascinated by it and understands it deeply. So the other part of the ripple is this curve, and it's all around our bathtub.
Okay.
So our bathtub is around feeder trough.
Oh, awesome.
And it doesn't have the shower hooked up yet, but it does work for sponge baths and stuff now. And we could fill it up if it wasn't a 100-gallon tank on its own.
Okay.
We will do that sort of thing when we're in campgrounds hooked up to city water. Composting toilet. That's all hooked up and running. That drops into boxes in the bottom, which are then worms turn it into soil that we leave behind. Our fridge and freezer are both chest freezers, and the fridge was converted with a thermostat change out. So that just can operate at a basic fridge temperature range from up to 55 degrees down to just below freezing sort of thing.
How much solar do you have on top?
We have 2,000 watts.
Whoa.
1,980.
Okay.
And right now we're only accessing about, I'd say, a fifth of what we can currently store, just because we have a low-grade inverter.
Okay.
We have an inverter upgrade to do before we put in our next battery bank.
Okay.
And at that point, we'll have about 72 hours of no charging storage capacity, and we'll be able to charge the full battery bank in less than 6 hours of direct sunlight.
Wow.
Yeah. So
awesome.
Fridge here, chest freezer is inset into the countertop beside the stove.
Oh, right in here.
So that's a deep freezer. It's a 5 cubic foot freezer.
Okay.
Obviously, lids need to be made so they're flush with the countertop and hinged and stuff like that. So there's lots of little cabinetry details and trim details to do.
Awesome.
This is our drip dry rack, where dishes can just go straight up and it all just drips down into the sink.
Okay, so this is like indented, so these won't slide around?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay.
So these are captured, and then there's channeling, and then there's holes that everything can kind of drip down through. And once the lighting is all installed, there'll also be a lighting feature to that too.
Okay.
Well, the boys spent the better part of 6 months basically doing a graduate design studio.
Okay.
So that was when I took over as the stay-at-home parent in the last couple of years of their staying at home. We spent 6 months over winter in Iowa designing this.
Okay.
Going through a modeling process, a research process.
Now, is this the door that was open the first day that I walked by? And
nope, I think that would be the other door.
Oh,
so we
okay.
have 2 emergency doors.
Okay.
This one stayed exactly where it was. We did take it out and reframe it, but it's where it was on the bus originally. This serves as my youngest son Cedar's primary window in his room. We do have portal lights that will eventually be installed in their window in their bunks.
Okay.
So that they have a window in their bunk. But then this will also have a fold-out balcony on the outside, so he can step out his door and have a place to hang out. And then my older son has an emergency door also.
Okay.
And so our walls, one of the stipulations one of my kids had in the design process was to have a sound wall. Something that gave him some privacy.
Okay.
Made him feel like he could be in his own space.
So these are well insulated?
Yeah, so it's 2 layers of a compressed fiberboard and then 1 layer of a rigid foam insulation, and then it's traditionally stud framed but with plywood on edge.
Okay.
So it's like a stud wall filled with these in bays. So we knock down about 32 decibels. It's about like putting in a pair of earplugs.
Yeah.
Obviously we don't have our doors built yet, so curtains don't do much
to
knock out sound, but
right.
One of these days soon we'll be building doors. That's one of our next big steps. So this is my youngest's room. He has the bunk version.
Okay.
And you can see expressed here that same bunk version. So my youngest is here, my oldest is here, and under his space, instead of being a bedroom like over here, this is our game nook. So we've got a video game console built into the side here, and the monitor in the wall. That's all connected and wired in. And we can stream movies there, do whatever you do with a PlayStation or Xbox.
This is your pantry, I see.
So yeah, we have a pantry on the front here.
Okay.
Yeah, feel free to wiggle in however you need to get the shots. So pantry here, my boys built and designed these pop-out things so we can get back to the utilities.
Okay.
And the way the utilities are worked out, logical order, electric up top, water down below, and then that game console box just divides those two spaces up. So the game console where the video game is stored is just that box in there. So electric system, my son designed this idea.
Breaker box like a regular house would have.
Right, so we've got the regular 120. So the way that our system is set up is that power comes in. It comes into the first breaker panel, which is coming off of our panels, and then that comes into the charge controller. Then that goes down to the batteries. And then the batteries send back two lines. One line goes to our 12-volt stuff, which is this exposed stuff here. And the other line comes to the inverter. And then the inverter comes over here, and we can plug into it here.
Okay.
This cable then goes into a disconnect switch. So we have a 60 amp disconnect switch here. And then this is our house breaker panel. This one is what we would unplug our 120 source for. Right?
All right.
And we would put this in, this would be our shore power. So when we're at a campground or at a friend's house, we can plug in 30 amp or 50 amp, and then we're instantly plugged in there. And then this is our generator. We have a 7,500 watt generator mounted underneath the front
I'm envious already.
So we can just switch between those things manually, nothing, no fancy electronics or anything. This costs $30 to set up rather than $400 for auto switching this and auto switching that, and that's all my kid figuring out how to do that within budget. So
Very good.
yeah. So teaching them the whole design process. And we also are. You met the cat. You met the dog, but not the cat.
dog. Okay.
So there is a cat on board. This is how she accesses her food and water.
Okay.
Up top, and then she has a tunnel that goes down into a litter box in our underbay storage.
Wow.
So all of her litter and cleaning and
And
stuff.
her name?
Her name is Puddle.
Puddle. Okay.
Because if she's in a good mood and she wants to play, she's just going to walk up to you and puddle right down the ground. The hatches that you'll notice we're standing on that don't match the floor, these are access hatches to the water tanks.
Oh, okay.
So we're standing on top of the fresh water tanks right now, and underneath these little plywood moldments, there are, I probably can't get one out, but you can see the hatch covers and, and all the filth. Because we haven't been someplace to vacuum in a while. And this is where it gets a little tighter in here, but we'll have some space to move around. I'll point first. This is my middle son Oakley's bedroom.
Okay.
He's a leather worker, so his desire was to be on the bottom floor. He wanted the full floor so that he'd be able to roll out full cowhides and be able to work on them, laying them out properly and stuff like that. And he's designed and built all of his cabinetry. I mean, the kids built everything. I treated it like I was the foreman on the job and just pointing them in the direction to go.
Very good.
Yeah. And then my oldest son, who is the computer kid, is in here. His bed is not finished, otherwise his bed would be able to flip up and then he would have full access to his desk. But he's got a very large desk back there that drops away.
Okay.
All that other stuff. And he's got a metal locker that he still has to build.
And he must be the electronics genius.
He is the electronics kid, yeah. And then he has that emergency door also, which we actually lifted up so that he would have a higher balcony. He'll have a balcony also outside, and you'll see the balcony we have in a moment that was the inspiration for theirs. But he wanted to be able to be up a little bit higher, so it was disconnected from the ground.
Okay.
And then the last step, our door eventually, their doors will be bifold, like a closet doors. Our door will be a pocket door. So there's framing here and a slot here that we'll cut into at access, and we'll eventually have a pocket door.
Okay.
But then stepping in here is mine and my wife Jenny's room.
Okay.
We will always be sleeping on the floor.
All right.
We don't have our permanent mattress yet. Our permanent mattress will be able to store in two places, either up above on top of the wardrobes or underneath the bench when the bench is up and in place.
Oh, okay. Like a workbench.
Well, workbench. My wife works online from on the road. She loves the fact that she literally sits up in bed at 4:30 in the morning, opens her laptop, and starts her workday.
Yeah.
And she stays in bed.
A lot of folks are doing that. A lot of folks are doing that. Yeah.
So yeah, the whole place is meant to be multifunctional, but not. a lot of folks design around like, oh, this can be this, and then you flip it over and it does that. We're looking more for situations where you can kind of do anything in any situation. So there's a clipping desk system that we've designed but haven't built out yet that she'll be using back here and stuff.
So can I ask you, what was the inspiration for this?
It's very many, a lot of inspirations. Okay. I mean, I'll throw out the typical nomadic 21st century ones. Debt, getting rid of debt. I spent 15 years teaching and studying in the academy in architecture and urban theory. So I could talk for a long time about why we've got all kinds of problems that are linked to how we build housing and how we don't build housing. So we didn't want to be part of that again, and we would have to start over with that, because when we went back and sold businesses and went back and did degrees in our early 30s, that put us in a position where it's like, okay, we're going to kind of start over again in the housing game. Like, we had flipped some homes and done well doing that before it was a thing that everybody did and stuff, but we just didn't want to do that. We wanted to more go direct to the homestead route. So we're out here looking for land.
And I think people out here is more in control than people that's living in the suburban areas.
And they're struggling just as much as somebody struggles in that suburban environment or that ex-urban environment or that inner urban environment. They just, what's the purpose of this? What is the point? Do I have any control? Where's my agency? When I make this choice, am I setting up the choice that I'm wanting next, or do I have a choice? Right. In those sorts of spaces? A lot of people out here are struggling in a bad way. There's a lot.
We have to live one day at a time.
Yes, we do. Yeah. Now, we can act with agency based on our best ideas about what we want in the future. And that's definitely what we're attempting to do. We're attempting to put ourselves in a position where when our kids leave home, they have as much of what we know embedded in their brains as we can. And then they've got everything they figured out on their own through their own education. And that puts them in a position to be pretty much a couple steps above most people through an education system nowadays, because they don't even know what their parents do. And I was finding that as an upper, like I taught graduate and undergraduate in the design college for a number of years, and these kids don't know what their parents do. They don't know what their parents know. They know what a curriculum is hopefully packaging to distribute kids out into the world to then act on a world. And I'm not impressed about the last 40 years that I've been an adult. So I'm fairly happy that
I'm still a big kid, so I don't even, I don't even rather I call myself an adult anymore.
That's the way to approach it.
Yeah,
is to be a kid, because then you're always learning. Yeah. So we're up here on the deck and we're standing on the landing.
Okay.
And we've got our hatch right here.
Okay.
It's a little awkward. Maybe they locked it.
They might have locked this out.
Locked me out. All right. We won't flip it open then. Eventually we'll build stairs up the sides here. Okay. And you can see that we have posts on the side here already set up for our railings, which will fold down and fold up. Okay. So we'll have railings on the outside and flights of stairs here and a set of stairs on the back there. Those stairs are more about having seating up here than anything else, because as you can see, it's not that hard to take a step up. This is our main deck top. The pattern is actually concentric circles going out of a single center point. That's the center point. So at night, when we have our red lights under this and you send the drone off the top here, you can see the ripple from a pebble being dropped in the middle of that bathtub inside. My. This is some of Cedar's work, actually. This is one of the big projects he took on. He did the layout and all the drilling and routing and sanding and sealing and stuff like that.
So how many watts do you have? 1900?
1,980. Okay. Is the rated capacity of those panels. Okay. Yeah. And this is just a walkway for us to service the panels. We don't really hang out back there.
What kind of like when you're going under an overpass, what kind of clearance do you need to get this bus under it?
To the top of the panels here, our highest point is 12 feet, 8.5 inches.
Okay, you're only 2.5 more inches than we are.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that's not bad.
We're 12.6. So.
I mean, I plot out our trips very carefully. Okay. If we're on the interstate, I feel pretty comfortable. If you're on any sort of state road, you can be pretty sure that they have federal dollars involved, and so at this point, most bridges have been converted to a 16-foot minimum. Yeah.
I want to thank you, first of all, for allowing us into your life and your family's life, and letting us invade your privacy. But this is unique, and I told my viewers in the beginning that they're not going to see another bus like this. They are. Well, and I'll tell you, everybody falls in love with it, I bet you, that sees it.
But yeah, people do like it. We are attracting attention. Like I mentioned, in terms of why we did what we did, it just emerged like that. And I would recommend to other people, this would be free design advice. So from a professional designer to the world, understand that if you design for your needs, it's going to be unique. It's not going to be a plastic box that sits on a quarter-acre lot.
Right.
It's going to respond to what you need in life. So get to work.
Okay.
Start solving your own needs.
All right.
That's what I'd say.
Well, you know, from myself and the viewers that watch Camping with Endless Weekends, we so appreciate you. And we wish you all the best of luck.
And to you guys, too.